Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to OT ICS Cybersecurity Academy and podcast channel. This is our second podcast video in the YouTube channel, and the podcast it will be a series of OT ICS cybersecurity related topic, and it will take two directions. The first direction into more technicality, talking about cybersecurity solution, talking about very technical stuff related to the OT environment. The second one will be into the managerial level, where we talked about CISO, C-level, board member decision-making process. Our topic today is about anti-malware solution, implementation challenge and recommendation in OT ICS environment. And I have a very special guest today. Thank you, Antoine, for joining us. He spent around 15 years, maybe more, in OT ICS cybersecurity. And the first time I met with Antoine, I think it was in 2016 or 17 in Singapore. So, Antoine, I leave you the mic. Please give a brief about your background and experience.
Thank you, Abdurrahman. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation. It's a big pleasure to talk to you again. As always, we met since Saudi Arabia and other countries. And yes, this is a big pleasure, a big honor to be this on your podcast. What can I say about myself? Anton, I also enthusiast and have a big passion in OT cybersecurity like you. And, I've been in the industry 15 years in general cybersecurity, in OT cybersecurity for more than 10 years. So, this is me. Worked for Kaspersky. Now I've been with Nozomi for 3 years. So I have some knowledge and insights to share today on the topic we would like to discuss, the anti-malware in OT environment. Yeah, it's a great topic. It's very important.
Okay, thank you, Antoine. It's a great honor having you today. I would love if you can reflect a bit about the industrial facility you have been through in your previous experience in both industrial and energy sector. Just as a generic name, of course, which reflect also the variety in the industrial environment we are dealing with and we are talking about, with like pharmaceutical, like substation, etc.
In my experience, there are a variety of industries, mostly all of them, the mining, the metallurgy, the oil and gas, utilities, all of that. I had an experience with all of them.
Okay, that's great. Okay, I don't know, my camera went off a bit, but it's fine.
Yeah, you're back. It's good.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we are reflecting today in our topic really reflect the industrial environment and also reflect the different environments in energy sector, including oil and gas, petrochemical, in industrial sector, pharmaceutical. So we can reflect this discussion on different at different level. Starting, let's reflect on a real use case. A few weeks ago, I got a call from one of my clients, and their challenge was they implemented anti-malware solution in their facility, and the result of that implementation was killing all the endpoint functionality. We are talking about runtime application like for HMI, human machine interface, and we are talking about engineering workstation, especially these devices which are critical for operation and monitoring and controlling. So we will come to the reason, and I believe you will reflect on it because you faced the same thing before. And that I reflect this incident on the first question. why the cybersecurity deployment for any cybersecurity solution is not similar with what we are doing in IT environment.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, this situation that you just explained, it happens. This is a main danger. It's a main problem. What still keeps many industries reluctant to implement endpoint security in OT. But it's very important to implement, but it should be done with the extra care. And
Mhm,
why is that? You see that, well, we've seen that for years. The different operational priorities. Yeah, so the availability is number one for workstation working in an OT. The time critical operations. You cannot, you can lose production time if you implement something which is not intended for OT. There are lots of legacy operating systems and specific operating systems like real-time operating system or outdated operating system like Windows XP, and I've heard stories with even Windows 98 in some in some facilities. Uh, well, all of that makes those environment unique in terms of extra care for them. So the endpoint security should be implemented very carefully. If even in some places you even cannot install, you need to think about some compensating measures to do that. That's the reason. That's why regular IT, EDR, or endpoint protection platform and solution cannot be just easily installed. I remember from my past, from Kaspersky time, when the company just started installing their endpoints in the OT environments, they started getting problems. And this is the time, like 10 years ago and even more, they started thinking that traditional endpoint security is not meant for OT. So they need to do something specific,
mhm.
something purpose built for OT. And yeah, and they started, and as there are many other vendors with OT specific endpoint solutions.
Mhm. Okay, I don't know if I am over evaluating the situation here or not, but are you saying now the cybersecurity control itself you are implementing in the OT environment is at some point it's protecting us from cyber attack, but at uh, some point also it can become the threat that shut down my system.
Yeah. That if it's not used correctly, as in this example, it can be a threat. That's why there should be balance. There should be extra care, as I said.
Mhm,
There should be specific deployment approach. You only need to use the maybe it's a step-by-step approach, not implementing all the endpoint security solution at the same time. Start with the some basic ones. Like application whitelisting, for example, and start from on less critical components of your OT systems and see how it works. Start in, use the test beds for that if they are in place. And so this approach, when you have to be careful, like testing.
exactly, and that add a lot of effort. Yeah. Um, okay. Uh, you already answered part of the second question, which is from where mainly the complexity comes in implementing cybersecurity control in OT environment. One of the challenge now and one of the natural requirement we often get even from some regulation that you must have a test environment in your OT facility to conduct all related cybersecurity testing, like for example, security batch, testing the pattern file, the FAT file, etc. Do you think this is really achievable to have a test environment for every industrial process we have?
Well, I have to say this is ideal approach and ideal situation, and it might afford it may be afforded only by very mature companies to have this kind of procedure, very automated testing procedures. Unfortunately, uh, most most of the companies, they need the endpoint protection. They're not that mature, and they're not,
Mhm.
unfortunately, to build this testing process. That's why there should be some streamlined approach for less matured companies. For example, without testing, but I don't know, for small and medium companies in OT, they uh, they probably should test at least the first deployment of updates and endpoint and the program updates and signature updates on some selected number of workstations first, and then did it on all other environments. Again, it's better to have the complete twin of your environment to test it, but not
Mhm.
everyone can afford it. So start small, start at your less critical components, let's say on level 3 of Purdue model, like HMIs, or not HMIs, like the historians and DMZ, and maybe this SCADA operator, but SCADA operator also the one of the critical components. So start small, then expand it to other components. So this would be the more affordable approach. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Now talking about anti-malware installation, uh, if you take it for example on the HMI level,
Yeah.
uh, it doesn't matter if you are running Siemens Symantec NCC or ABB and in runtime application or Yokogawa, despite which vendor you are dealing with, um, the way how we implement the anti-malware solution in HMI and in engineering workstation, how what is the security level it can add uh, to this environment or to this device, for example, HMI? Especially especially here, I need you to reflect also the exception policy we are usually working on and how the process are carried on.
What protection level? Well, again, those types of devices, they working in OT, they definitely need the security process automation. Because
Mhm.
I would start from the reason why. Because if you take a look at, let's say, the MITRE attack framework for ICS, like more than 70% of those attack techniques, they're kind of targeting endpoints, the classic endpoints, traditional points like Windows, Linux, Mac OS operating system. And if we cover this type of OT assets first, we can reduce risk significantly. That's why it adds very serious level of protection. That's why the
Mhm.
automation is important. But when we talk about endpoint security, we don't talk only about malware protection, because there are different types of techniques, security techniques, how to protect endpoint. Whitelisting, for example, it's been known in the industry for years, and unfortunately, not many still use it. But we know that OT environments are mainly static. Not many updates, unfortunately, not many users, not many changes in terms of communications assets and endpoint activities. That's why it's a perfect security security technique, security technology to use in OT environments. So you don't need to change it very often, the baseline for the application whitelisting and allow listing, if you will. So
Mhm.
this is the one level, and one of the safest. You can start with it. It block in many solutions and many technologies. This also can work in testing mode, on monitoring mode. When you on the pilot stage, you enable it, you see, you learn what the application you have and active application. Then you switch to protection mode, and you will block or monitor on new one. So this is the first technology. The application, not application, device control. Again, we know that USB is a big threat to every environment. If you have air gap and isolation, it's might be a myth, because all other communications go through the sneaker net with USB devices. That's why there should be controlled as well at the endpoint level. The portable device control and malware, of course, but these days it's not only the learning the blocking malware based on signature. It's also the behavioral approach based on the TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures, based on the logs and events in event logs, like some suspicious event correlation, and all of that, form the comprehensive approach of endpoint, of OT endpoint. If it tweaked very carefully with a decent care, it might be safe for OT asset. And if we talk only about HMI and kind of traditional, not traditional, like generic OT component, Windows and operations, workstations, servers. If we talk about controllers, if we talk about the control devices like RTUs and something embedded, that's a different approach, because you cannot easily install like off-the-shelf security solution. It should be it should be tweaked. There should be hardening of these devices. There should be monitoring logs. It should be some vendor-specific approach to that. These days there are models of these control devices that comes with some security features installed. Not many of them on the market, and even fewer of them are implemented in the environments. That's the problem. And some of the vendors now starting implementing some security agents into controllers. Not many of them, but they're doing some first step in that direction. So it's also improving. And if we talk about embedded controls of OT devices, there are some good references. For example, like certification to IEC 62443, ISA secure certification. There are certification on embedded, on component of control system security, and which security control should be implemented. And there are a list of already certified devices. You can go and you can check what they can already do. So there is something going on in the market. It's improving, but if you want to increase the security level of endpoint devices, workstation, servers, controllers, there are ways to do it.
Let us go back then to the endpoint. For example, the HMI, the engineering workstation, even some instrumentation has their own endpoint. Now, if you compare it with the IT environment, in IT, usually you do full deployment and installation of anti-malware solution. You are doing regular batch file update, for example, for signature file or FAT file. Now, in case of HMI, for example, an engineering workstation, usually we add exception. So I don't know what is the percentage of security we are adding in the IT level. Is it like 70, 60, 80%? How would you look at it from OT perspective, especially we are having this exception policy from the OEM vendor, like for example, the whole directory for the runtime software or the configuration or diagnostic software are isolated from the anti-malware functionality?
It's a tricky question, and this is the price for for safety. You know,
Yeah.
you're kind of risking risking to be infected by malware, but you are kind of excluding you from the risk of being stopped by anti-malware solution itself. This is the balance. You see that the better way is to, you know, there are endpoint solution. I know that solutions, endpoint security solutions that work together with industrial automation vendors, and they whitelist they each release of their software. So in order to keep the full folder under the anti-malware control, but avoid the stopping the benign software. They do this
Mhm.
procedure. They whitelist the release, but it's not common practice. Unfortunately, not all do that, and that's why people go to the level. Let's just exclude the whole folder.
Mhm.
Yeah, and again, if it does, if they do that for anti-malware engine, for example, they can still use the whitelisting or allow listing to control those files. So to catch the suspicious activity or to use the log events to catch the suspicious activity after the malware launched and started doing some bad things. So again,
Mhm.
the defense in depth approach. If you exclude something, try to find the other compensating measure for that, like log monitoring, the network session monitoring, and all of that. Yeah,
So,
it
so
should
if
be
we
balanced.
take now the anti-malware solution, it's the blacklisting solution, as they call it.
Yeah.
And as a, to reduce the risk for isolated application from the anti-malware function, we can use the whitelisting as a supporting function
Yes.
for the runtime application. Okay, that brings a funny story, a discussion I had with okay, it was not a discussion, it was a lecture
Mm.
about OT. I attended somewhere, and the person who were talking, he mentioned it clearly like that. In OT environment, to implement cybersecurity, we need to give away on some functionality we have in the OT environment. And we know that it's all about production, and you are selling a product, you are not selling a cyber security solution. So, and you mentioned very strong and very important statement here that we need to have a balance.
Yeah.
And
It's
but this balance in the first place, it should serve productivity, production, and safety. So this is very good statement. We can take it as a takeaway for today's session.
absolutely, because this is the main rule of cybersecurity, the proper cybersecurity in general, in every way, in IT, in OT. It should not undermine the availability and business. And this is especially true for OT because availability is number one. So
Mhm.
you have to find a way to secure without decreasing the, you know, the operational resilience. That's the thing. Find a way.
Mhm.
If you cannot install endpoint security, find other way to monitor everything. Some indirect signs of malware. I understand that. If you have the Windows 89, let's say 98, sorry,
Okay.
in your environment, and
All
it
of them
should be there.
obsolete.
It
Yeah.
should be there. Let's imagine it should be there. You cannot replace it. You it should be there. Leave it there. Inform all the responsible people, guys. This is a huge risk, but we will try to do something with that. We will put like a network monitoring, some other things around it. We will Well, there is a joke about, why it's safe to use Windows 89, 98 in the one, because modern malware will not run on it. So it's safe. It's not enough resources. It's not. They're not meant for that. So find a way to. If business says it should be like that, maybe it might sound stupid, but this is the decision. This is a risk accepted, but you have to find a way to use some compensating measure to protect it. This is
Okay.
again, this is about balance.
Yeah, which take me again to the same topic, the installation part. And thank you so much because this is really important. Now, in OT environment, uh, it's not only about Windows 98 or 89. I mean, all of them,
Sorry.
it's all obsolete. Yeah, Windows 2000. We also have this embedded firmware,
Yep.
this touch panel by, for example, Rockwell, by Siemens, the touch panel which are using Windows embedded.
Hmm.
Can we really install anti-malware on Windows embedded?
There are solutions that support Windows embedded, so they
Okay,
think they cannot be installed there. Yeah, so they're tested to extent, and they can run there. That's for sure. The other question, how successful, how productive it is there, it's another question. Yeah, but it's possible.
okay. Um, and this also bring another question regarding the compliance now. If I have a machine running with obsolete or outdated Windows operating system, or even with outdated or out of support application like runtime application, configuration application, diagnostic. I don't want to mention it by specific name because some people tend to blame the OEM, but it's not always the OEM. It's a natural challenge in the environment. So my question here, uh, you get some certain requirement from the regulation, for example, local and international regulation that you have to install anti-malware solution for your all endpoint. Okay, now if I upgrade my endpoint, I might go through a very long process in upgrading the entire system maybe. So should I really always achieve a 100% compliance with the regulation, or we just need to meet the enough level of security that, as you mentioned, build a balance inside the environment?
Yeah, it's difficult question because compliance compliance is not completely about the factual cybersecurity.
Hmm.
And maybe this is the reason you can show to the compliance that to some extent, where possible, you use endpoint security, and endpoint security in OT, but because you cannot cover all of that, you use some compensating measure. As far as I know,
Hmm.
that some regulators, they can understand that and can see that the the OTA has a different priority. You will stop the process. It will have some consequences for national cybersecurity or the for like the environment or something. They can understand that. So, but again, it's important to show the efforts and show the due diligence that you understand, you do to all possible to try to find the balance. But again, it depends on the country, on the regulator, the industry. That's the way I did it in my past, and I would do it now. So yeah, of course, pushing the business to guys, you need to keep up with the technologies, with the security landscape. You have to upgrade your system regularly. But if you can do that, you have to do something. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. That bring another challenge here. Uh, um, okay, now let's assume that you already went through the process. You put all the investment, all the money, you got all the uh, capex and related opex investment, and you put it on the table. Okay, guys, go and start upgradation process of the system. Now we have uh, Windows 20, for example. I just start trying to be ahead of Windows 11. And okay, my OEM solution in the HMI is also ahead of time. It's new, but at some point again, your compliance level. Let's assume ideally, as you said, we achieve 100% compliance now. And we are doing the update every day. We are even mitigating 0 day with this anti-malware. We have the perfect solution. At some point, this solution might become outdated, will become outdated. My OEM vendor solution will become outdated, right?
Well, yeah, yeah. It should be. It's a different topic. It's a topic of life cycle management, the patch management, vulnerability and patch management in general. That's true. Yeah. It should be all controlled. Should be controlled, and yeah. If that was the question.
I mean, is it worth it that from the very beginning the end user go with all this huge investment, or we just do the minimum control that limit the risk and it reduce any additional interconnection with internet, with the IT and other stuff? What do you think?
Uh, Again, it's the it's a defense in depth. The
Yep,
more controls you have, the more expensive it is, but the more complex it is. But there is a hope that the more secure it is.
yep,
So it's always you should add levels of security, but at the same time you should always control the effectiveness and efficiency of those levels of security. You have
yep,
to again. Uh, 100% compliance is a good achievement and a good indicator, but what about real situation? What about try to penetrate, try to do the red team or something, try to test the effectiveness of those systems?
hmm,
So that's why the endpoint security is just one of the component of the whole cybersecurity program, which is full of not just solution and products. It's full of processes. And those
yep,
processes are well known. It's patch management, vulnerability management, incident response, the all the tabletop exercises, all of the good processes that we have in all the standards and frameworks. Yeah, so it's again security. There is a phrase. It's not project. It's a process. Yeah, it should be running. And when you buy some new and updated your new operating systems and new anti-malware to that, it doesn't mean so you are 100% secure for forever. Of absolutely no.
yep.
You may be the less low-hanging fruit for attackers. But again, if someone puts more efforts to hacking you, they can do that. So yeah,
Okay, yep.
yeah, that's
And,
the
and,
real
and
life.
yes, and that bring the supply chain
Yeah.
into the process because, okay, now you have anti-malware solution, and if I reflect on it, what happened with CrowdStrike,
Mm.
uh, and I'm referring to the first one when they have some sort of wrong update, I believe it was, or wrong batch file or coding. I don't remember exactly, but how we can avoid such incident in the OT environment. If we take CrowdStrike, what happened with SolarWind? Before you deploy any signature file update or update any signature file update in your HMI, in your engineering workstation.
Backups, backups, backups. This is the off the top of my head, but I have a note regarding this CrowdStrike issue.
Mhm.
Find it. I was thinking talking about that as well. Uh, it's relevant to the topic how to you mentioned that how to update properly your malware, how to test it. The what CrowdStrike didn't do this time is the ring-based deployment model. So don't deploy all the updates at the same time to all your assets. Do it like what is it called, the low risk environments before before rolling out to critical system. So this is the how, for example, Microsoft does this. Deployment allows early detection of issue and reduces faulty updates. So, and it's done on the level of vendor, that the same can be done at the level of asset owner. So don't stage the updates. This is the this is a problem of supply chain, as you mentioned, security, and the dangerous updates. Speaking of SolarWind, again, third-party risk, software, insecure software. It's a huge problem, and the problem is in the bigger problem is in lack of visibility in the components of those third-party software. And we see that the industry is trying to tackle that with software bill of materials, supply chain cybersecurity, supply chain cybersecurity risk management, all of that. And again, one of the strategies is backups. If something bad happened, at least you should have the backups to restore. But be aware, know how to do backups properly, because it's a different topic, but I will mention that. But, backups is the #1 solution against ransomware attacks. But unfortunately, they done many times wrongly, and they are also the victims of cyber attacks. So they destroy, the ransomware groups destroy backups, they steal backups, and so do it properly. Don't be a don't make it a victim. Make it a security solution.
I I do, I don't want to make it sound negative, but how you will handle it if the end user himself, he doesn't have any backup or even the tool to handle the backup itself.
Oh.
So this added challenge, right?
Well, yeah, well, there should be resources, should be budget, there should be smart people, there should be at least, knowledge how to, you always can do something with cybersecurity, at least with hardening. There are lots of open source tools. There are lots of built-in components, built-in mechanisms of operating system. You can do at least something, but it should be smart people or budget for for professional services, consultant, and other types of professional. And now with AI, it can be done even easily. You have consultant in your pocket, in your chat GPT.
Yeah.
So I hope it will, people will use it properly for security, for help. Huge problem, and interesting field of knowledge, the cybersecurity, and especially in OT system. But yeah.
So what we are doing here exactly is we are adding a new process, people, process, technology framework
Yeah.
as a cybersecurity framework into a current framework in production environment. It was already built long time ago, and over this layer, we are building the cybersecurity layer. Okay, now to deploy all these update into your endpoint, like signature file, how often do you recommend the updating process should take place? Compared to IT, for example, we are doing it in daily basis almost.
Again, it depends. The best answer is depends, but speaking of balance and uh, from perspective of cybersecurity, the threat landscape it's very rapid, it's very active, and if you, for example, you can sometimes you can miss the threat just not updating one day because the attackers are getting more fast and they're more productive thanks to AI as well and all this large language model and AI availability. That's why the often the better. But again, on the other side, we have the constraints of OT environment. So you
Yeah.
cannot you have to test it. You have to wait for maintenance window. So you need to find this agreement with operational team, with business team, security, and explaining them the threat. Um, so I don't know. The 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 cadence should be the most acceptable cadence, the most fastest cadence which is possible. If operational team allows that and you test it, doing it once a day, it's good. Once a week, okay, then let's make it once a week. But
Mhm.
the sooner the better. For example, well, threat intelligence feeds and the signature feeds of endpoint solutions, they're updating their feeds daily because
Okay.
new samples, new editions, new forms of malware. That's the problem. Yeah. Again, security
Okay.
person in me says do it regularly, continuously, in real time. It's because of threats. But on the other side, I understand. But keep in mind the constraints.
Okay. Um, Let me try to fix this one. Um, I'm trying to fix the room. I don't know. We get this one now.
What?
Uh,
You didn't hit the record.
no. It's working. It's working.
Okay, let's do it again.
Um, I don't know what I have
Do you
done
have
here.
endpoint security software on your workstation?
Yeah. No. I'm trying to split the screen, but anyway, we carry on. Yeah. Back to very important point, Antoine. You mentioned from my previous experience with OEM. Now, let's assume we have a HMI, human machine interface, and we are updating the signature file. I really need your advice on this part because, for example, I am selling the X HMI runtime application, and as an OEM vendor, I already released 40 version of that software. So, for example, I'm selling this to you, and you are the end user, and you are having version 30. But as an OEM, I have version 50. Now, when the signature files are released by, let's assume we have a cybersecurity solution provider A, and they gave the signature file to the OEM vendor, and the OEM vendor will take this one and tested it and send it to you as an end user. Now, should I, as an end user, really rely on this test done by the OEM vendor alone, or I should take it to another level and do the test myself in my environment with further concern into the operation? What is your recommendation here?
There is a principle, very modern principle these days, is zero trust.
Okay.
uh, like trust but verify, or zero trust,
Yeah, but yeah,
always verify.
but okay. I think both of us agree that usually end user believe everything uh, provided by OEM vendors. So they have a
Uh,
full trust when it comes
Again,
to.
you understand that having this additional level of inspection, it's a huge burden on asset owners. It's a process, should be
Okay.
automated. It can be afforded only by mature companies. That's why many companies they just don't have time for that. They accept it. But if we're talking about signature updates, if we talk about the, for example, software updates from OEM,
Hmm.
there is a standard, the part of the standard IC 62443 2-4, if I'm not mistaken, which which standardize how to do the patch management.
Okay.
And the patch management in OT with the ideal, the perfect situation when you have this kind of testing on both level, on vendor
Okay.
side, on a user side. But I don't know a company who follow this approach. So, but it exists,
Okay.
and this is the right way to do. But again, it depends on lots of resources on asset owner side. Yeah,
So we have multiple challenge here, even when it comes to the software version we are dealing with.
yeah.
Because usually with OEM, you have to sign some sort of service license agreement. And I haven't seen any service license agreement so far cover this kind of gap. And do we need to invest the money on it or not?
Well,
Uh,
invest on what?
for example, now if I go to the OEM and I ask the OEM, okay, I have the software for runtime application running version 10, and you already have version 30.
Mm.
How you can support me in testing the new uh, pattern file update from the anti-malware solution provider, how you can test that one and give it to me to confirm it will not impact my system or my process.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you
Uh,
have to pay for it at some point, I believe.
well, you have to pay to OEM for testing your endpoint security signature update for the new version. That's interesting scheme. So this is maybe the service from the OEM for asset owners.
Hmm.
But I don't have answer here. But I understand that it's all depend on the why OEM vendor needs that.
Okay.
Why the money or what? Or trust of the asset owners, clients, or I don't know, technology, competitive advantage. So there should be some reason for that. Should be some business
Maybe the
motivation.
investment, the resources they will put also.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Not trivial question.
I mean, for some vendor I dealt with, they have more than 70 version of the software solution in less than 3 years.
Yeah.
So interested challenge.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I have a thought on that. Now you mentioned that, I can say that it's always unique for each vendor, so there is no standard way to do that. And maybe this is the gap in the industry. We need kind of standardization efforts on that.
mhm.
There should be like what we're doing now, the industry doing now with software bill of materials. It's on the early stage, but we already have some software bill of materials formats, like file formats. There are some discussions and guidance from CISA, for example, on how to deliver software bill of materials, how to consume it. It's not deployed, it's not applied yet in the solutions and systems, but this at the very beginning maturity of this topic. Maybe we need something with this endpoint security testing with the software development life cycle. I don't know, uh,
Mhm.
because it's there are lots of questions, and they're always addressed individually. So there is no standard approach to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Some
Let me
strategic
ask you.
thoughts.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, it's really complex environment handling all these stuff. And this bring me another question here regarding the discrete process. Uh, One of the requirement, for example, you need to implement anti-malware solution for your machines in a discrete manufacturing processing. And usually it's like a group of machines, and each machine is isolated from each other, and they are like producing at the end one final product, putting all the spare part together, or the produced part together. Does it really make sense? I build a centralized anti-malware solution for such environment, or I keep everything isolated? This way it will be much more secure. What do you think?
Isolation. You isolate them from threats, but you also isolate them from centralized uh, monitoring and control. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one is better? Again, let's find something in the middle.
Let me reflect it. Let me give you two example on it. For example, in pharmaceutical or in military industry, they have like each machine is running alone, and there is a person who is running this machine. It has its own HMI or touch panel. It has its own maybe microprocessor or controller, and each machine is running alone. There is operator running this machine, and now the cybersecurity department came with the brilliant idea. Let's have a centralized cybersecurity solution, including anti-malware solution, and we will integrate everything together. So, what do you think?
Uh, First of all, I think that the cybersecurity in this situation would be not the first who wanted the integration. You know,
Okay.
someone before them wanted the telemetry or remote maintenance or something like that, I would say.
Yeah.
But let's imagine it's completely isolated and no one except cybersecurity want this remote access and centralized monitoring. If they want to keep it isolated but protected, we know the ways. If you cannot connect it by the network, use the USB devices, but protect them also from malware itself, or use some kind of data diode so to block the data flows, for example. But again, to deliver those updates, so try to find the compensating measure. So manually or semi manually with data diodes or something like that. So
Mhm.
architecturally, yeah, this is maybe the two obvious option I would try to explore. Yeah,
But
for this
but
case.
adding more, doing all this integration could increase also the risk for cyber attack.
Yes,
Like at some point, you can lose only one machine due to a cyber attack, unsecure remote access, which you can
yes,
handle it separately. But now you are increasing the risk. You will lose all the machine at the same time. What do you think?
yes. If let's imagine you build the centralized management and network for anti-malware centralized management, but the attackers can use it to get access to those systems. Yes, it might be. So it either should be kind of again secured or just use manual approach. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. So there are risks, of course, and the more protected uh, the more protected computer device or any digital device is disabled device, switched off. But
Yeah.
as Kevin Mitnick said one time that even if it's turned off, you always can call the person and ask to switch it on.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
So,
lots of cases and scenarios, but if there is no trust and there is no kind of confidence in centralized management of endpoint security, it's better to leave it isolated with a manual approach.
mhm. Okay. Let's take it to stakeholders part. Uh, in any decision-making process related to implementing anti-malware solution within industrial automation and control system, whom do you think we need to engage in this process? Who are the main or the major stakeholders who need to be engaged in this?
Mm. Well, definitely there should be some operational teams, plant manager or chief operational officer, all the people who are responsible for operational resiliency of the facility,
Mhm,
because they are the people who have the requirements on availability, and they are the other side of discussion. As I said, they have the constraints. They
mhm,
have their schedules. They have their information on maintenance windows, all of that. On the other side, of course, there should be some business people and C-level who should support that, who should explain to people who are uh, who has who skeptical people who still think that we don't need any security, endpoint security at OT level, because we never click wrong links and we have a air gap, blah blah blah. There should be some C-level person, CISO or CIO or some other business person who should explain this is we're talking about not a IT issue. This is the cyber risk part of enterprise risk management, and
okay.
it's important, as important as the safety risk, cybersecurity risk. It should be done, but guys, sit together and find the balance how to do that.
Mhm.
So that's for sure that people should be involved in the process.
This is within the organization itself.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. What about the OEM vendor role here?
Oh yeah.
How do you see?
It definitely will emerge during the discussion on the operational side. They will say, guys, we can lose the warranty if we install
Okay.
something. Let's talk with the OEM. And this is you're right. There also should be.
Okay. This is a common excuse, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Bringing the warranty part. If any damage happen, okay, as an ex OEM, I used to tell my client, yeah, you cannot touch it, you will lose the warranty. But from security, from anti-malware solution recommendation, should we take the recommendation from the OEM directly, or we should run a POC for different solution?
Um, well, as you know, it's a market. It depends on who dictate the terms and conditions.
Yeah.
I've been in this situation when very rich client, industrial client, which had lots of OEMs, and the very mature in terms of cybersecurity client. He understands what he wants, what kind of security technology, and what exactly this technology should do, and he dictated the conditions. I need this security technology, let's say anti-malware, in my environment, and and I want to test vendor A, B, and C, and he dictated this to OEM. Like, I want you to find a way to test how you work together. And in that sense, because this is the market of this asset vendors, the asset vendor should obey and do that. In some market, I saw the situation where vendor just say no. We have just this one or two vendors which is shortlisted. You cannot do anything except them. Otherwise, the warranty, you will not get our services and application. And this is the market. This is negotiation. And
Agree.
I always teach asset owners, guys, this is your responsibility, the security. You are the boss. You should dictate. Try to explain. I want it if you want what you want. If you know what you want. Uh, so be the boss. But it depends on the
Yep, yep. But
on
let's
many things.
agree. Who is the boss here? It's always the OEM, right?
In many
At the end,
places, in many cases, yeah.
you are relying on them at the end, which make it a big challenge. And thank you for bringing this up. For some client, they are having like 30 vendors
Mm-hmm.
within multiple geographical location, for example. Okay, as an end user, if I go and I buy one anti-malware solution and I deploy it, it will be much easier to manage it compared to having multiple anti-malware solution recommended by multiple OEM vendor.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, despite that, you need to conduct a POC for each one of them, make sure that they will not impact your functionality. How you can handle this situation?
You have a
Yes.
very interesting question. So, uh, again, as I said, try to find balance and understanding with all of them. Uh, be confident in what you want, and if you know that you need this kind of security solution, try to find some intersection of vendors, those who you want to implement, and maybe some of the vendors have them already approved. Know exact features and the capabilities and values that you want to get from cybersecurity technology. Maybe you can easily replace it with what the other vendor already, or the OEM already has.
Yeah.
So this is the streamlining optimization process. Yeah.
Yeah.
How to find the balance to reduce your costs and to increase your efficiency in cybersecurity. Yeah, it's more again business and management than technology, I would say.
OT is always tough.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be with us forever. Yeah,
Okay.
it makes this actually makes it interesting, to be there because it's not easy to solve.
I don't know if it's interesting for me anymore or not. Okay. You mentioned in the very beginning a very good point that you always, in implementing any cybersecurity control, you need to make a balance between the security level you can accept and the availability and continuity and reliability of your operation and production process. One of the major key that can help you make a very good decision toward which security control you can implement in a correct way is having a proper visibility. Now, I know you have been to multiple sites, you travel a lot. How do you evaluate the site you have visited from availability point of view? From visibility point of view, how many of them had really a proper visibility? I mean, from 1 to 10, let's say.
How many of them? Well, again, I've been into different facilities, very mature and less mature, but most of them, of course, start because lots of my experience was starting with asset inventory, OT asset inventory. This is where they didn't have it at all. Of course, some basic Excel spreadsheets with assets. So I would say that most of them didn't have visibility, didn't have the the automated asset inventory and this kind of visibility. Just some knowledge of what we have, but lots of uh, lots of blind spots, I would say. They were there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, visibility is a problem, but yeah, it's the first thing that should be done in OT environments, because some people say that asset inventory and visibility is not the first. You need to do the segmentation first. It's a
Yeah.
good point, but to do the segmentation, you need to know what you have.
Exactly.
And how to
Exactly.
segment that, and how that communicate to each other now to make the right segmentation. You need to do some kind of inventory. You can start
Yes.
doing that manually, but again, we know manually is not efficient. So asset inventory, it's good for beginners visibility, and it's good for mature companies with their processes. So it's even for short period asset inventory, for future, for other products, or for regular monitoring. It serves both categories.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, visibility is number one. And as I always talk on my presentation, so about asset inventory, if you look at like most of the important frameworks for OT cybersecurity or critical infrastructure protection, asset inventory, asset management is number one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So everything starts with, I don't want to say, but I will say it again. You cannot protect it if you don't know it. Everyone says
Exactly. Yeah.
so.
Yeah. But let me ask you this, because we have now 7 minutes almost to close the
Okay.
session. Now, when you mention the asset inventory and the life cycle, we are not referring here only to the industrial automation and control system asset inventory. I mean the asset inventory that serve the automation function like spare parts, serial number. We need this one. But how many organizations do you think today, as an end user, they have the asset inventory that even the manual asset inventory, or I think they call it electronic document asset inventory. How many organizations have the electronic asset inventory that serve the cybersecurity function and the automation function together?
I don't know the figure. Mm, I cannot answer that. I don't have that statistics. But I would say, not many. I suppose not
Mhm.
many. Yeah.
Which make it challenging selecting any cybersecurity solution.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Okay. Okay, I will come back to the last question. When it comes to disaster recovery and backup, uh, you mentioned in the very beginning backup. Why backup is very important in the OT, in the industrial automation and uh, in the industrial automation and control system environment. And how do you recommend to handle it after adapting all these security controls?
Backups. Well, again, availability is number one priority, the continuity and resilience, and one of the main goals or process of the resilience is to withstand under attack. So
Mhm.
we have to accept that It's not the question of if you are going to be attacked and affected, or on when, and you have to be prepared, and you have to be prepared for worst case scenario. So, like in Murphy's law, if something bad can happen, it will happen.
Yes.
So the backup is for that. Be ready to respond to negative consequences that happen. Don't be always optimistic. Be pessimist. Like
Okay.
this is my approach in my life. Be pessimist. Think about worst case scenario. Uh, yeah, and backup is the last hope. As I said, the backup should be the effective backup should be done properly. Should follow the approach, incremental backup. It should be stored. It should be have the word for that.
Offline.
Yeah, offline and there should be like a number of copies of the backups. So they
Yep.
should be stored in different locations for that. Should be encrypted, access control, and so on. So to protect backup from the same type of attacks and risks.
Mhm.
This is the way.
And how do you see also drill exercise can add value to this within the organization?
No, well, backup should be tested for sure. This is the right, and this tabletop drills is it's a good way to do it. Absolutely, yeah, yeah. This is the way.
Okay. Antoine, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Abdurrahman. It was great
Really
pleasure
appreciate
to talk.
joining us today, and we will carry on with the other podcast also. Thank you so much for your time. I don't know if it's a weekend in Dubai now or it's a working day.
Yes, it is weekend. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, but we are OT.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always have
Okay.
something to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And looking
Thank you.
forward to meet again.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Thank
much.
you. Bye. Take
Bye
care.
bye.